Coming to you today with a topic that I not only don't want to talk about, I don't like talking about it, and I never thought I would talk about it, but so many of you reached out to me and said, Nance, would you comment on the most recent Sean Diddy Combs video release of his attack on his now ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura? And so, being that I'm all about supporting women, and I'm going to do this. I want to warn you, this conversation is going to trigger you. It triggers me. The video was very triggering for most of you, from what I've read. And today, Cassie came out and commented, and I want to share that with you. And I want to share some wisdom behind all of this. All right. So, first of all, God, the media reported this many different ways. CBS recently said a disturbing video, blah, 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 blah. And I'm thinking to myself, disturbing? Just, that's like the strongest words you could come up with. Disturbing? How about disgusting, reprehensible, violent, unprecedented in many ways? How about strong words? Some news venues reported it as a brutal beating, but some reported it as an assault, an attack. It is brutal. When you see a man kick a woman and drag her down the hall, that is not just an attack. That is a violation of her in every way. So let me say this before I discuss it anymore. If you find this triggering to the extent that you are so uncomfortable that you're starting to feel agitated in your body, I want you to turn the video off. Just turn it off. And if you are triggered because of a personal experience or an experience of somebody you know, if it's if it's re-upping the PTSD that you thought you got rid of or worked through, I want you to turn it off. I want you to call your counselor or your therapist and get some help processing it. I have been to counseling on several occasions, and I am happier and healthier because I did it. There is no shame in doing that. I do not want you to stay with me if this is injurious to you in any way. Okay? Deal? Deal. All right. My name is Nancy D. Solomon. I am the CEO and founder of WomenThink Global. And I'm here today as a woman, as a former victim, as an advocate for you, as the CEO of WomenThink Global, where we equip women to empower themselves. I'm here in every facet of my life because that's how it impacted me. Many of us ask, why did she stay? And the fact is we're never going to know the answer to that question. I have worked with more than a few women who have been in domestic violence situations, and leaving sounds so easy. It's like saying to an alcoholic, just stop drinking. You can't leave because your family is your first laboratory of love. And if you learned that love hurts, separating yourself from the experience of that is going to be difficult, if not impossible. She didn't leave because she didn't leave. End of story. Don't judge her. Don't judge her any more than you would judge anybody for having cancer or living on the street or any other of a number of things. Because you know what? We're all just one situation of being in any situation, right? Okay, I know I'm stumbling a little bit. That's an indication of how uncomfortable this is. Today, Cassie Ventura issued her own statement, and I'm going to quote what she said. She said, "My only ask is that everyone open your heart to believing victims the first time. It takes a lot of heart to tell the truth out of a situation if you were powerless in it." More or less. When a woman is raped, which she was repeatedly by him, When a woman is raped, when a woman is attacked, we tend to say, "Oh, she made it up." I want you to know that the research tells us that less than 5% of women reporting attacks such as these are false. It is the same statistic as people reporting false robberies, false counterfeiting, anything else. It's no greater. So if you have a bias against women and thinking that we're making this shit up, we don't, because why would we? The other thing she said is domestic violence is the issue. It broke me down to someone I never thought I would become. And I hear that from every victim of domestic violence I've ever had or sexual assault. I never thought it could happen to me. I lost myself. And the last thing she said is, with a lot of hard work, I am better today, but I will always be recovering from my past. So let me say this. We are all of us who have had any kind of trauma in our life, whether it's as children or as adults, we will always be recovering from that. It does not mean we are a victim of it. It means that it never entirely goes away. But with help, with professional help, it can go from being taking up this much of our head space and our heart space down to this. And videos like this may expand a little bit, but we recognize this because we've done the work. Now, initially, Sean, I hate to even say his name, denied it. He flat out denied the claim. So he's a liar because we all saw the video, right? So then he did what is very, very typical. And then he said, well, he was drunk. Well, I want to tell you, and do your research on this. Don't trust me alone. Nobody does anything drunk that isn't already in their unconscious mind to do. So when people say, well, I screamed out, anti-Semitic epithets because I was drunk, you know what? It was lying there waiting for you to drink so your inhibitions could come down and you would give yourself permission to do it. And then you would later apologize. Okay. And he said, I'm so sorry. I'm disgusted with myself. I got help. Like, who gives a shit? You're disgusted with yourself. Nobody cares, Sean. Nobody cares that you're disgusted with yourself. We care that a young woman was brutally beaten by you, that you repeatedly raped her. This is what we care about. So go take your sorry self somewhere else and, tell it to somebody who cares, because I personally don't care that you're sorry. Now, don't hate me on comments, okay? Do I know that it's a sickness? Yes. Do I know that he can get help and get better? Yes. I know all this. I'm a former therapist, but I'm a woman first. I'm just saying. Okay. And there's an expression, I don't remember who said it, so my apologies to whoever said this, but you can't talk your way out of what you behave your way into. Okay? Now, so we all have a line to draw. We can say, why didn't she leave? We have a line. We all have a line of, these are the things I will definitely never stay in a relationship for. So for you, it might be he mocks you in front of his friends, but you you just go, oh, he was just like showing off. Or he put you down in front of his friends. And by the way, I'm addressing women here for obvious reasons, but men are the victims too. 1 in 3 women will in her lifetime suffer from domestic violence attack, and 1 in 4 men. So it does happen. But you ladies, you happen to be my primary interest right now. Okay. Another line you might draw is he pushes you. Maybe he just pushes you lightly. Another line you might draw might be is, he raises his hand, he pulls his arm back as though he's going to hit you, but he doesn't actually do it. You have to know where your line is. Love is like a cat. It chooses us. We don't choose it. And many of us, myself especially included, have been fallen in love with guys that weren't good for us. And we knew it, but we stayed because those hormones, they just get a hold of us and it's all over, right? But the fact is, you need to know where your line is. For me, you don't have to hit me. You don't even have to really push me. You just have to look like you're going to, and you're gone. And I have enough people in my life who will hold me to that commitment. Nancy, you said if he ever pushed you, you're out of there. People who will hold me to my commitment to myself, because I'm telling you, if he does it once, he'll do it again. Effect. And I want you to stay safe. And you are in charge of the choices you make. You're not in charge of who you fall in love with necessarily. That's a whole chemical thing in your brain. But you can choose whether you stay or whether you leave. Now, there's a lot of people who have said to me, Nancy, you can't post that on LinkedIn. This is really too personal a matter. And let me just say this, for those of you who still think that you can separate your personal self from your business self, you need to give me a call, because that is not only unlikely, it's impossible. You cannot do that. You have a fight with your spouse in the morning, or your partner in the morning, or your kids annoy you and you end up yelling at them and you feel badly. You think you're going to go into the office and forget that? Mm-mm. Okay, so the reason I'm posting it on all my social media, including LinkedIn, is this. If you're the victim of domestic violence, remember it's 1 in 3, you will come to work and it will impact your work. I'm going to share some statistics with you. All right. Half of female homicides in the US are killed by a current or former male intimate partner. There is the fact that you go to work and let's say you are the victim of violence, and you go to work and now all the people in your office, they're not safe either, because what if he shows up? And what if he shows up with a gun? Okay. So it is a work related issue. The economic impact, listen to this, of intimate partner violence totals 8 million days of paid work each year. That's what it's costing the US economy. The equivalent of 32,000 full-time jobs. That is what it costs the companies that domestic violence victims work for. Children, 1 in 15 children are exposed to intimate partner violence each year. 90% of these children are eyewitnesses. Let's talk about productivity loss. Boy, I'm really just cheering you up, aren't I? You need to know this, okay? Nobody wants to hear it, but you need to know. I'll put it on a faster speed so you can get through it, but you need to know that this is not in your head. I need you to know that, all right? Healthcare costs, all right? Healthcare costs for people who are victims are about $4.1 billion a year. Hold on. This thing keeps reminding me I have to take my vitamins. All right. $4.1 billion each year due to injuries, mental health services, and other related expenses. How about absenteeism and tardiness? All right. Victims of domestic violence are often late to work or miss work altogether. Between 21 and 60% of victims lose their job due to reasons stemming from the abuse. And how about with employee retention? Because you have a much higher turnover rate with people who are having this experience. So, there was a time when we thought that the people who allow themselves to be beat, like that's even a thing. Like, how could they? Why don't they just leave? I remember working with someone years ago in the garment industry, and I went to her wedding. And in a really short period of time, she came in with bruises. Oh, you know what? The car stopped short and I went into the dashboard. And the next week it was, I opened up a cabinet into my eye. And you get the idea? And I sat her down and said, if you need to talk to somebody, I am here. I didn't have the skills I have now, or it would have been a different situation. I don't know whether she stayed with him. I know that he brutally hit her in order to create that kind of damage on her body. This wasn't a one-off. Okay? Here's my notice to you, my public service announcements. If you are a victim of domestic violence, get the fuck out of the house. Oh my God, she said the F word. Yeah, this deserves the F word. You can figure out the house is on fire. You don't sit around going, wonder how the house is on fire. Wonder where the fire started. No, you get out. You get to safety and then you figure out where the fire started. If you are in this kind of situation, or it's escalating, it's getting there, get out and figure it out later. All right? Go to counseling. Remember, I said it earlier, our families are our first laboratory of love. And so there's something in the way women are socialized in the culture and in their families that this happens. And it's not your fault. I'm going to say that again. It is not your fault. If you want to talk to me, you could reach me. I'll put the link in the notes here. It's www.connectwithnancy.com. All right, so www.connectwithnancy.com. I'm really glad that this video was released because I think people think that women make up stuff, and we don't. We don't. So take care of yourself. Keep yourself and your family safe. And if you end up with a guy like Sean, you won't be the first one or the last one. So go figure out where you can get some support. All right. You're in my heart. Yeah, you're in my heart. I'm here if you need me.